The hobby makes me feel whole. The hobby helps me to remember, literally helps me to put together all of the pieces. And yet I'm not broken. We're not broken. But the hobby makes me feel whole. One of the ways it does that for me is by reminding me that nothing's missing. I mean, do I have all the cards I want? No, I do not. Will I ever have all the cards that I want? No, I will not. Collecting is a journey, and it goes on and on and on. But nothing is missing. Nothing is lacking. I don't have all the cards, but I hold so much. And one of the ways the hobby makes me feel whole is by pointing me back to that which I do have. Just looking at my cards and celebrating them and feeling appreciation that I get to be the caretaker of my baseball and football cards just for a little while. Truly, we're just caretakers of the cardboard. The hobby makes me feel whole because it reminds me that nothing's missing. There are holes in my collection, but there's no holes inside of me when it comes to how much I enjoy this, how much fun I have, what a wonderful diversion from the burdens of my everyday life. This will never be work for me. This is strictly atelic. I am not interested in an outcome. I am interested in enjoying this. And I do have an end game. I want a small, beautiful collection, but my happiness will never, ever, ever, never, ever, never be pegged to what I do or do not possess, because then the possession possesses me. Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I'm your host, Rabbi David Spinrad. Welcome to episode 52, The Hobby Makes Me Whole. I rediscovered an old radio broadcast back from 1987, something I'd completely forgotten about. They used to run in syndication. I knew it from listening to Giants games on KNBR. There was little 2-minute little clips. They were called radio baseball cards, and some of them were about baseball cards, but mostly they were little clips of the stars of the 80s and of course, the stars before. Just sharing stories. Some of them actually talk about them being on baseball cards. Bob James is a baseball card collector. He was a reliever for the White Sox. Talks about seeing himself on a baseball card for the very first time. Jack Clark tells a similar story, as does White Sox first baseman Greg Walker. But they're not just talking about baseball cards. Ray Knight reminisces about being a Little League champion. Don Baylor talks about being the first person of color in his high school, being the first black male in an all-white high school. Eric Shaw talks about being a trivia question. Who allowed Pete Rose's 4,192nd hit? It was, of course, Eric Shaw. Bit of a John Bircher, as I recall. John Birch Society. Not familiar with John Birch? I highly suggest you Google who they were. I'm guessing who they are. A bit conservative for me. Tony Gwynn remembers being called up. He's playing outfield at the time in the Pacific Coast League for the Hawaii Islanders, AAA franchise of the Padres. Pee Wee Reese talks about playing with Jackie Robinson. Talks about that famous moment, beginning of Jackie's career, when he walks over amidst the jeers and the boos. He walks over and puts his arms around Jackie's shoulder. It's interesting, Pee Wee's talking about, Pee Wee, I believe, is from Kentucky, and talks about growing up around only white people. Different times. Although our society, unfortunately, is still quite segregated. I love these radio baseball card clips. Only about 2 minutes, lots of commercials. Each one is more of an interview clip than it is an interview. But framing them, each one, the narrator is Don Drysdale, Double D. And when we come back to the 1984 All-Star Game broadcast, cameras on Drysdale. He's interviewing Dave Stieb in the clubhouse. They make a little small talk chit-chat about a couple of pitches. And then after that, you have Al and you have Howard up in the booth, and they're having a good time. Al makes mention that Drysdale holds the record for most innings pitched and most strikeouts in All-Star games, records that still stand to today. Drysdale pitched 19 innings in All-Star games, and he struck out same number, 19 batters, both still All-Star records. Howard quips that Drysdale never threw at a batter. Of course, we know that's not true. Drysdale, famous at brushing back hitters like they used to do back in the 60s, actually hit 154 guys during his career. They congratulate Drysdale on being not only named, but just about to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame the following month, August 1984. He's part of a class that included Pee Wee Reese. Pee Wee made it as a veteran committee selection, as did catcher Rick Sewell. Rick Sewell, interesting guy, played mostly in the 30s, but played into the 40s, was an all-star 1944, 1945, among other appearances. What's noteworthy is that's during World War II. Sewell was late 30s at that point, 38, 39, named the all-star team. Kind of makes you want to do a dive into what baseball was like when all those best players were serving their country in the Second World War. Who else was in the 1984 class besides Drysdale, Pee Wee Reese, and Rick Sewell? Luis Aparicio named in his 6th time being on the ballot, as was Harmon Killebrew, the killer, in his 4th time on the ballot. Drysdale himself was appearing for the 10th time. Drysdale, Rick Ferrell, Pee Wee Reese, Luis Aparicio, and Harmon Killebrew. Killebrew is one of those guys you just always associate with one team. He was a Washington Senator and a Minnesota Twin, 1954 to 1975. He played all but 1975, a member of the Washington Senators / Minnesota Twins, and he played one last season as a Kansas City Royal, which is always so weird. You see those guys in and out of their uniforms. It's like when you see Willie McCovey as a member of the San Diego Padres, or for the, I think, 11 games in September of 76, maybe, when McCovey was a member of the Oakland Athletics. For some reason, you have these weird associations. I always think of Killebrew and McCovey, right? Both feared sluggers in the 1960s. Killebrew actually led the major leagues with home runs during the 1960s. Had a monster career. 573 career home runs, 13-time All-Star. But he's kind of like a bit forgotten. 1955 is his rookie card. You can get a PSA 5 for under $400. It's very reasonable. But I want to show you a card because I always associate, for some reason, McCovey and Killebrew. Similar careers, a little bit forgotten, but definitely Hall of Famers, of course. The card I'm going to show you right here, if you're listening at home, is just from the 1975 Topps. Such a gorgeous, such a beautiful set. It's that little insert set from the 75 set that has the all most valuable players from each year. This is the card that has the 69 Topps card of Harmon Killebrew and the 69 Topps card of McCovey. I have McCovey's in a PSA 8 as part of the master set of the 84 All-Star Game. God, I just love the 75 Topps look. I can already tell you I will be buying many. I'm not a modern collector. I don't usually rip wax, but the 1975 Topps design is the heritage design for Topps in 2024. Take a look at that. The pink, the yellow, the horizontal. You got the McCovey on the right, the Killebrew on the left, both shown from that MVP year, 1969. Topps did these from the first year of Topps, 1952, all the way through 1975, showing that year's cards of the respective MVPs from the American League and the National League. 1969, both McCovey and Killebrew had monster seasons. Let me give you some numbers. Killebrew in 69 plays every single game, all 162, has 709 plate appearances, 49 home runs, 140 RBI, walks 145 times, on base percentage of .427, and a 1.011 slug. Beasting out 1969. McCovey not too far behind. Always battle a little bit of injuries. Plays 145 games, 623 plate appearances. Killebrew hits 49 home runs. McCovey hits 45. Drives in 126, 121 walks. Gets on base at a .453 clip. Wow, real good. His OPS was 1.108. Both had a couple of monster seasons. Feared sluggers from the 1960s. Not quite top tier Hall of Famers, but definitely worthy of recognition and adulation. Bottom of the fifth, Richard Dotson on the mound for the White Sox. Tony Gwynn stands in. Gwynn's not quite skinny Tony Gwynn. Maybe you get Tony Gwynn who's slender when you see him like on a high school basketball court, one of those young pictures of Tony Gwynn, but he had round features, right? He's not porcine. He's certainly not corpulent. He's not the late 90s corpulent Tony Gwynn playing, what was that, 1998 World Series against the New York Yankees. I'm not here to fat shame. I'm just here to say slimmer Tony Gwynn, not skinny, but a little bit more slender. Nevertheless, what an incredible athlete. Of course, everybody knows, drafted in the pros in basketball and baseball. Gwynn could run early in his career. Did you know? 1986, Gwynn swiped 37 bags. Did you know? 1987, Gwynn swipes 56 bases. Comes back 1989, steals 40 more. But the stat I really want to give you, I can't talk Tony Gwynn without giving some insane batting statistic from one of the greatest hitters we've ever seen. Did you know that across the history of Major League Baseball, batters batting with an 0-2 count, batters at the plate standing in, no balls and 2 strikes, have a total career average of 157. Let me say that again. If you're at the plate with an 0-2 count historically in Major League Baseball, you're going to hit 157. Unless you're Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn at the plate with an 0-2 count had a 252 career average. 157 for the rest of MLB. A 252 average for Tony Gwynn on an 0-2 count. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. And what does Gwynn do? What did Gwynn do so well? He lines a base hit kind of the other way into left center field. Gwynn aboard, nobody out. Camera then cuts to the outfield. I'm going to show you. If you're listening on a podcast, I will describe it. Camera shows out in right field up against the cyclone fence. 6 oval discs, not oval, those are round discs, baseball shaped. Those are the retired numbers for the San Francisco Giants in July 1984. From left to right, you have Bill Terry, the first baseman for the New York Giants. You have Mel Ott. You have next to him, great pitcher Carl Hubbell throughout the first pitch, 1984 All-Star Game. He's part of the master set. You have Terry, you have Ott, you have Hubbell. Next to him, of course, the best there ever was, number 24, Willie Mays, followed by number 27, Juan Marichal, and last, Willie McCovey, number 44. Ott, Terry, Ott, Hubbell, Marichal, McCovey, Marichal. This is why I have a career as a rabbi and not a broadcaster. Terry, Ott, Hubbell, McCovey, Terry, Ott, Hubbell, Mays, Marichal, McCovey. Six players' numbers retired at that time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's grown to now include many more. I'm now showing the people watching on the YouTube what we see today at Oracle Park, a beautiful home of the San Francisco Giants. You know what you don't see just to the left? I couldn't find everything. They actually are in two separate sections. The Giants retired with like an NY because they didn't wear uniforms. They retired in honor of the great pitcher Christy Mathewson and the great manager John McGraw. Now we see left to right. We have Terry. We have Ott. We have Hubble. The Giants now added the great outfielder Monty Irvin. They recently added he's number 20. They added recently Will Clark, number 22. There's Mays again, number 25. His godson, Barry Bonds. Juan Marichal, number 27. Number 30, that's Orlando Cepeda. Number 36, Gaylord Perry. And number 44, McCovey. Giants in their history, their long and storied history, have retired a lot of numbers. Most recently, they added Monty Irvin. They added Will Clark. They added Barry Bonds, Orlando Cepeda, and of course, they added Gaylord Perry. I want to show you a couple of cards while we're at it. One of my very favorite cards, 1952 Topps. Monty Irvin, number 20. Oh my gosh, I love this card so much. Perhaps my favorite card shown of a player wearing his hat sort of cocked up and back, slightly akimbo. Love this card. Beautiful 1952 Topps Monty Irvin in an SGC 6. Beautiful resolution, beautiful registration, and the centering's not too shabby. That's a PC card for me, man. I love it. Monty Irvin. Show you one more card while we're at it. 1960 Topps. You've seen this one. It's not an uncommon card. It's Willie McCovey's rookie card. This was a special one given to me. Adam K., my rabbinical ordination, gave me a few special Giants card, including this 1960 Topps. The composition, this is beautiful. Left side of the card, McCovey posed before the game. That looks like, where are they? That kid looks like at spring training in Phoenix. It's definitely not Candlestick Park. Actually, Candlestick Park opens in 1960. It couldn't have been Candlestick Park. This is a 60 Topps. On the right side of the card, you have that yellow circle selected by the Youth of America, Willie McCovey, San Francisco Giants Topps All-Star Rookie, first base, and of course that awesome Topps Rookie trophy with the top hat on the bottom. Camera then flashes on this circle in particular. If you're listening, I'm going to tell you, it flashes on Willie Mays, number 24. And what do you hear? You hear Howard say, you look at 24 and you're just so sorry about the hubbub. The hubbub, Howard, it's criminal, the hubbub. The greatest player of all time, and definitely the greatest player in Giants history, is nowhere to be seen as the Giants host their first All-Star game since 1961. Mays is banned from MLB at the time. Remember this? Mays and Mantle both banned from participating in any Major League Baseball activities due to their associations with casinos. Talk about nonsense. Neither Mays nor Mantle a tremendous financial acumen. After their careers wound down, they had to do what they could to make ends meet. At the time, Mays is a batting instructor for the Mets, making $100,000 a year. It's not a ton of money, enough to get by on, but compared to what he earned for the owners, it was a pittance. Neither did that well with their financial dealings. And in 1976, New Jersey had legalized casinos in Atlantic City. Indian third baseman Al Rosen, who had been working for many years for Caesars, had been the president for the New York Yankees at the time. 1977, 1978, was sick and tired of the boss, had enough of Steinbrenner, saw an opportunity, leapt back into casinos, not with Caesars. This time he's with Bally's. And what does he do? He goes out and signs aggressively Mays to $1 million contract over 10 years. No. Much more than that, because that's what we would have made in 10 years with the Mets. Much more money than that. But he signs an exclusive contract for Mays essentially to be an ambassador. Right? Bally's has no sports book. It has nothing to do with gambling. His job was to play a little golf, was to sign some autographs, was to shake some hands, to be a brand ambassador. Bowie says you can't associate with casinos. Never mind, there's no time spent in casinos. Never you mind, Bally has no book. Bowie Kuhn was imperious in his reign as commissioner. Imperious and occasionally unpopular. He suspends Willie Mays from any and all association with Major League Baseball. A few years later, Mantle, kind of in a similar situation, signs an agreement with Claridge Casino again to be a goodwill ambassador. He, too, is suspended by MLB. Bowie Kuhn, what's your legacy? I suspended Mantle and Mays from Major League Baseball. Why? Because it seemed like the right thing to do. How many times in our lives do we do the right thing and end up being wrong? Think, Bowie. Man, oh man. Unpopular. But in a move that is very reminiscent of one of the first things Ronald Reagan did when he helped to free the hostages from Iran after the 1980 election. New Commissioner Peter Uberoff takes the opportunity to raise his popularity and works out a deal to end the suspensions, to bring Willie back, to bring Mickey back, to right the wrong and make us baseball fans feel whole again. Here it is on the cover. March 1985, Sports Illustrated, welcome home. Peter Uberoff reinstates Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. Talk about an easy PR move for you, Peter Uberoff, with your $250 haircut. Take the two most popular living ball players and bring them close. Well done, Pete. Got another card to show you, friends. It's a reprint. I have never before bought a reprint card, but I brought a reprint for you because I got my sights set on that 1933 Goudey Babe Ruth card 149, the red one. For the longest time, I wanted to pick up a manager's dream. You know it well. 1962 Topps, the wood grain. Mantle standing next to Mays. Mays standing next to Mantle. Behind them in the background, looming high above Fenway's green monster. And in the near background, Hank Aaron, John Roseboro, and Elston Howard, the Yankee catcher. Front and center, the two greatest, Mantle and Mays. That's a tough card. It's a tough card. I was looking for that card for a real long time. It's a terribly ugly card. The wood grain just kind of looks bleached out. Mantle, everyone, it has like a mark on his face. And I don't know if it's on his skin or if it's some kind of print defect. Every single one looks like some like mole on Mantle's face. And I could never really find the one I liked. I wanted to do the Mays run, so I was really invested in finding this card, 1962 Manager's Dream. But I made a decision to go for that Ruth and decided that for the purposes of this podcast, a reprint would be okay. Here it is. I guess the good thing about buying a reprint, it costs $2 and is perfectly centered. This is a reprint from the 1996 special insert set that was released by Topps after Mantle died. There's a little gold rectangle in the bottom right-hand side of the card. This says Mickey Mantle. It has a little embossed picture of his 52 Topps image. I love this card. And for what I'm doing right now with my collection, having a reprint at $2 is quite all right with me. And if I ever really want the card, I'll buy it at my own leisure. I won't have to press to get a copy that I don't really love in order to present this card to you. Such a cool card. Aaron over Mays' shoulder, Roseboro between them, Elston Howard off to the side, Fenway Park, the Green Monster deep in the background. Where was this picture taken? This picture was taken at the second of two All-Star games in 1961. You will remember the 1961 All-Star game. The first, early in July, was played at Candlestick Park, the one in which Stu Miller was mythically blown from the mound. 3 weeks later, in Fenway, the two sides, AL and NL, got together for a second All-Star game. Kind of strange. Do you know much about that? 1959 to 1962, Major League Baseball played two All-Star games. Why? Trying to raise money for the players' pension. Just that simple. 4 All-Star games. What they found was it diminished the excitement of the All-Star game to do 2 games in the same month with the same roster, so they did away with it after that. And yet this card remains a memory of that time. I want to show you, before we wrap up this episode of the show, I want to show you 3 cards I did not buy. It's kind of helping me. It's helping me to be able to show you the cards I'm not buying. I get a sense of experience. I get a chance to bring them into you, into my lives. But I'm not buying these cards right now. Let me show you what I got, bringing them up on the screen. Of course, we know 2023 Prism Football just released. The first card I did not buy was a 2023 Prism Gold vinyl of my favorite 49er, Nick Bosa. Gold vinyl out of 5. It's funny, this is probably a $200, $250 card, but with the Niners in the playoffs, with the release of Prism Football just coming out this week, everybody is overpaying for everything. Instead of this card going for $250, it went for something like $440, and I'm out. That's a lot of money to spend on a ultra-modern card of a defensive lineman, but it is a beautiful card. Happy to look at it, don't need to own it. Second card I passed, right-hand corner. There's just certain cards that just get you. No one else might like them. I love the 1965 Topps Tall Boy of Jim Otto. It's not a great checklist, but it's a beautiful card design. Tall Boy, like the 1969, 70, 1970, 71 Topps basketball, oversized rectangular card. What I love about this card, I'll tell you 3 things. First thing is I love the yellow-green contrast, the background, just beautiful, beautiful green. Depending on when the card was printed, there's either this gorgeous Kelly green or a little bit deeper, not quite forest green. The Oakland, on the top of the Oakland Raiders, is just slightly arched. What's really neat is Otto is in a stance where he's going to snap the ball. So there's a slight archway created by the Oakland on top, and there's a slight arch created by Otto with his legs spread to do, he's probably just posing, but he's ready to snap the ball. I just love that symmetry. I love the composition of this card. I love the yellow-green contrast. I also really dig that Otto's wearing a Raiders jersey that doesn't look quite like a Raiders jersey, and he's not wearing his famous 00. He's wearing number 50. Hall of Fame center Jim Otto never missed too many ball games. Last card, front and center. There are cards we buy and cards we sell, and when we sell them, we miss them. Last year, or the year before, I sold off a 1976 Topps Pete Rose. I think the 76 set has some of the best photography. The one I'm showing you here is a PSA 8. I love it. Super close-up profile of Charlie Hustle. Got the flip-down shades flipped up, sideburns running down the side of his face. Looks like he's got his forearms up on the dugout rail, the intense look in his eyes. This is a card I miss. It's a card I could have bought. Looked at one at PSA 8. Again, it's the kind of card you got to let go. You can't just get the good ones if you want to have one great one. It'll be there for me. Someday I'll have that card again. I did buy one Nick Bosa card. I do have one mail day, but did not buy the gold vinyl. Did not buy that 65 Tall Boy Jim Otto. Did not buy the 1976 Pete Rose in a PSA 8. Oof. What did we talk about today? We talked about how this hobby makes me whole. Part of feeling whole is recognizing that nothing's missing. I love my collection. I welcome in new cards, but I don't ever make my happiness or satisfaction contingent upon what I do and do not possess. I do not let my possessions possess me. We talked about radio baseball cards, really fun. I suggest picking them up. Apple, probably on Spotify too. Talked about the 84 Hall of Fame class, Drysdale, Aparicio, Killebrew, and Pee Wee and Rick Ferrell from the Veterans Committee. Did a little side-by-side of Killebrew and Willie Mack, Stretch McCovey. Showed that 1975 Topps MVP card from the 69 year when they both were the best players in their respective leagues. Did a little Tony Gwynn. Can't ignore Tony. He got a base hit, which brought Sandberg to the plate, which is where we'll pick it up next time. We talked about the hubbub, the absurd, the insulting, the asinine suspensions of Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays by the imperious Bowie Kuhn. Peter Ueberroth doing a nice little bit of PR, bringing those great players back into the fold. Did a little did not buy. Last thing I want to leave you with, I got that Ruth on my mind. It is tier 1. Only one card resides on tier 1. There are 2 cards that reside on tier 2. One of them just emerged. Doesn't come up very often. If I zag, that just makes me more human. I know you'll accept me because I know you don't judge me and I don't judge you. Until we meet again, may you enjoy and may you ever be blessed with health and with long life. So long for now.